Shoots. Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now, today's piece of content has actually been something that I've really enjoyed the preambles to test stuff out. So what we're here today to look at is from Fenix, which is the PD35, and this is the third version. There's been 2 iterations before this, and yeah, kind of my thoughts on this. Now what I'll do is I'll leave the timestamp here so that you can see where the content starts, mainly because there's a couple of things that I just wanted to talk about beforehand. This flashlight itself, actually no, to start off with, just quickly, I have noticed that quite a few people have mentioned about the audio, that there does seem to be a reduction in the audio or the sound at least. I am definitely listening. I've just purchased a lavalier mic. Hopefully that will help to concentrate my voice, so I do apologise that we have had some issues with the sound, but hopefully when this arrives in a few days it should help to clear things up a little bit more so that you can hear my beautiful Moorlandese accent. But moving on actually to the flashlight itself, this is kind of a coming together of a couple of things. I know a lot of you guys, when I've done flashlight or torch reviews, one of the main things that I see quite a lot of is people saying, do you know what, Moorlander, you really should try out Fenix lights. And you know, I know of their reputation, I know of the quality of lights that they've produced. And then randomly, a couple of months back, someone from Fenix got in touch and said, hi, we like your channel, we like the content that you do. Obviously they'd heard of the legend of the Moorlander, and asked if they'd like me to send, or like them to send me some lights. So it's kind of worked out really well, and this really is my first hands-on with any sort of Fenix product. I get it, I totally get it. There's some great lights out there, and this isn't certainly to cast any shade, no pun intended, on any of those other lights from other manufacturers, because there still are some great lights out there, dependent on your budget, dependent on your needs, for so much. I get the bump up in quality with Fenix. Now, this light and a second light were also sent to me, although that should hopefully be coming online soon. So full disclosure, these were sent to me for free of charge, but as part of the chats that I have with everyone that sends me items, everything that's included today will be 100% my opinion, and certainly not swayed by the fact, you know, that I've been sent some free things to test out. I certainly value the integrity, and I know that you guys appreciate my honesty when I do this sort of stuff. Now what I'll do is I will get the camera turned round so that we can take a closer look at this. What I tried to do with this one is less of me talking and more of camera outside so you can see it in the dark. So let's turn the camera around and we'll take a closer look at the PD35, and this is, as I say, this is the version 3. Now, as we tend to have started to do a little bit more, here's the box. It's a very nice, well laid out box. Now, I've never really in the past wanted to talk about candela and lumens, but this is the first flashlight that I feel that it's something that we just can't brush over. Again, you know, we'll touch on this. Now, I'll bring this up. Let's see if we can get this in focus. But we will go through some of this information, especially when we have a look at how this runs in the dark. Flashlights, you know, at the end of the day, you need to be able to see things in the dark. So, you know, we'll kind of skip through some bits when we can see those. Now, on the inside, you get the general kind of things that you get when you pick up a new torch. You get a charger. Now, this does charge by USB Type-C. You also get a lanyard and extra little bits. You get a nice little pouch that you can put it into if you want to either attach it to your belt or attach it to a pack. You get some warranty information, and then you also get the instructions, which are just here, which, you know, I'm going to use. The instructions that come with this, you know, they come, as you tend to get with a lot of instructions manuals nowadays, pretty much every single language that you could possibly need. And then here we have the actual light itself. So as far as measurements are concerned, it comes in at 134 millimeters from end to end. The diameter of it and its thickness, so the thickest part here is towards the head, where you have this octagonal shape, and that comes in at 25.4 millimeters. And then at its thinnest point, which is here, there's some really nice knurling on the shaft here, so you can get a good grip, which also will make sense, especially in a moment when we have a look at how you can use this tactically, and it does mount onto rifles. That drops down to 22.8 millimeters. Now that in inches is 5.28 inches by 1 inch thick here, and then it comes down to 0.9 inches. There's a good weight on this as well. It's made from very tough aluminium, and it comes in at just over 38 grams. Sorry, I've read that wrong. It comes in at just over 33 grams, but that is excluding the battery. That in ounces is 2.95. Now if we get into the operation of this, actually I suppose going through the features here, so you have a button here at the front. Now this button itself acts as the mode button, so to turn it on there is a single press button here at the end which will turn it on and off, and then if you need to change through the different intensities of light, which goes from eco, low, medium, high, and then turbo. You do this all through this button here as well. Also, if you want to change it so that you can have it onto the strobe mode, you can do that through this. Now, jumping ahead a little bit, so when it's on here, you'll be able to see that I'm just simply cycling through all of the different light intensity modes. If I turn it off, there is a memory within the unit in here, so it will remember what light intensity that you had it on. You can also long press this, which will put it into the strobe mode. If you turn it off and then back on again, you'll see that it doesn't keep it in that, which again, just kind of an observation. Now, as far as the LED unit that is in this, the LED unit is one of the SFT40 LEDs. It does an incredibly bright focus, and it's one of the things that I mentioned about Candela, that it just makes so much of a difference with this. And it's the one thing that as soon as I turn this on, and as soon as I start just messing around and pointing the light away, when you turn this on, and let's put this on into the highest mode, so hopefully you can see there on my hand it has a very defined hotspot. So the way that a candela is measured, or it's looked at, imagine as though, so there's 1,700 lumens that this light can create. If it had a really wide angle as far as the spill is concerned, and also used an orange peel reflector on the inside, then all of those lumens would be spread roughly equally through this cone. So what the candela does is it's the measurement of that cone and how much it's able to focus the light on a certain spot. So if it's nice and wide and it's got a low candela metric or figure, then that means that all of those 1,700 lumens are forced to spread across a wider area. The candela on this is actually really high, which again we'll have a look at some of those figures when we go through how this works on the outside. But what it does is it really punches a hole with that that hot spot, and it's amazing. So on its lowest mode, it comes in only at 5 lumens, or sorry, on the eco mode it comes in at 5 lumens. I have other 5 lumen flashlights that when you have it turned on and focused on an area, because it spreads out so much, you're really getting all of those 5 lumens just on one. So how I've actually been using this, I've only really been using it on eco and low, mainly because all of those lumens are focused on such a concentrated area, so it makes that area seem brighter when really it's just focusing more, so that the intensity of that light is focused on this small area. So getting back to the end where the switch is here, it is just a single press on and off. It's very clicky, very tactile. It has a good positive click. Hopefully you can hear that when I'm doing that. It also has a rubberized end to make sure that it stops any sort of dirt or debris getting in there. There are 2 lanyard holes on either side. I guess if you're a lefty or a righty, maybe? I don't know. But there's an extra one there just in case you do need that. The shaft, as I mentioned, has some really nice knurling on there, so you do get a good grip on there. And then around the outside, you have this almost like a hexagon style, octagon style shape. I'm not really sure. It might be a dodecahedron. I'm not sure. But then you have the button here. Now, whilst this is charging, whilst this is on, then you'll be able to see that does turn on, which actually you probably can't see in this light, but there is a little green light on there as well. Coming to the front, you have this really nice reflector in there that does help with that candela, and again, you know, focusing that light onto a specific point. And then you also have a raised tactical-ish style bezel around the outside. It does still use the same material that the rest of this flashlight, so it's not like one of the ones where you have a strengthened steel or tungsten kind of tactical bezel on there, but you can still use this. It does have those crimps and dimples in there, so if you needed to use this in self-defense, you certainly can do. Now, as far as self-defense, it would hurt more if this was on the turbo mode and you shined this in somebody's eyes than it probably would if you hit somebody with this. Having those 1700 lumens focused into somebody's eyes, from personal experience, whilst doing some airsoft this weekend, I was clearing some rooms. I used the mount on this on my rifle. I got this young lad in his eyes. This was pointed right, pretty much right his eyes. He took me by surprise that he was in one of the rooms, and yeah, he let out quite a girly squeal. If you're new to airsoft or you've not really come across airsoft before, if you can make the boys squeal before you shoot them, that is extra points. Now, as far as one of the things that I haven't touched on, which you may have noticed that we've not got on any of this all the way around, there's no charging port from the outside. To charge this, you do have to either unscrew the tail end here, which is where the tail cap, you'll be able to see there's a little spring in there, or you can take it off the other end, which is through the head of the unit here as well. Again, I'm guessing this is probably more so for modularity with Fenix, so that if they wanted to produce longer ones, they could do that. Now, on the inside here, there is, just going to put that back on there so I make sure I don't lose it. Do you know what I mentioned at the beginning of this? Sorry, I did say that this was USB Type-C. I do apologise about that. I just want to correct myself and let the dog past. Thank you, Betty. This is a micro USB, which is a bit of a downside, but I guess Fenix will probably also have, in the future, they'll have USB Type-C versions of these. So all you'd need to do is just update the battery rather than having to update the actual flashlight itself. But it is a 2600 milliamp hours and 18650 flashlight, and that just fits right in there. When I first got this, I was you know, I wish you could charge it from the outside. However, using this more and understanding maybe a little bit more as far as the tactical side of this is concerned, and how it can be used, it does really make sense why this is separate. You could have one of these that's in there so that if you needed to replace or change the battery, you could just pop in a new battery and then carry on without having to have this plugged in and then use that to charge the battery. It makes perfect sense. And also with the unit being not having fewer access points so that you can get that ingression of water or dirt, again, it does make sense. So it's quite quickly changed my mind. Now, one thing, and again, if you've watched any of my content before, you'll know that I do this. But when you're screwing these on, the precision through the screw move, there's little to no movement in there, which I think when I started to play around with this and I start to compare this against other flashlights that I've looked at, especially this year, maybe last year as well, I can see the bump up in productivity values that you get from the Fenix lights, and I totally get it. I understand now why these lights are so well respected and loved. Now, one of the additional things that Fenix did send to me, which, hey, we boys love playing with cool toys, and so do ladies, but they also sent me these attachments. So what we have here is we have the pressure button and end cap that goes onto there. We also have the attachment so that you can add this to your Mlok rails, and then we also have the attachment that will hold this in place, or the button in place. So by the power of editing, it's now attached to my rifle. Now, for all of the YouTube police at this point, I would like to state this is not a real pew pew. It is a pretty amazing replica of the real thing. I'm going to try not to say the words just in case the algorithm picks it up, but this is not real. This is a toy, a very good looking toy. So with those attachments, you can have on the side here, this is your quick switch button. Your quick switch, you've got the two settings whether you want it for, by the way, so this is definitely not loaded. You have it so that you can either do your quick intermediate press, or you've also got that second button on there which will then keep it on. Now when it's on, you still have to use the selector here so that you can go through the different modes, but once you've got the one that you want, you can turn that on and off, and the memory will always keep that. The wire that you get with it is plenty long enough to make sure that you can set this however you choose. And then on this side, this is where you have your attachment on there, which just uses a pressure grip to make sure that you hold that. Now, the real steel version of this obviously will have a lot more of a kick, so I've not been able to test that to see whether or not this holds it in place. But for the 6mm BBs that go into this and the fact that it doesn't kick, I've certainly not had any issues whatsoever with this slipping. Now, as far as the way, so the two attachments here that I have, so these are Mlok. This is more of an observation, so when attaching these on here by Mlok, they can go wherever there's an Mlok slot on there. But these are, I guess you call these the traditional ones where it screws through, and as you screw it, it will turn and then pull it up. On this side, it uses a different system, so this is more like a ratchet or a cam, and then on the inside you have those two prongs that as it turns, they kind of go forward and open out. Here on this Mlok, I've found that it fits in, but the Mlok here, or at least the depth of these slots, is probably about 3mm. When we get here closer up to the front, it does widen up to, or the depth of those, down to about 4mm. So when you push it in and you start to open that, as it starts to kind of go in and then spread out, by the time it started to spread out to the widest that it will fit within that slot, it hasn't got past the depth. Probably not an issue depending on whatever pew pew you carry. However, it's more of an observation for me. I had to fit it here, but certainly didn't have any issues as far as how I intended to use it. It fits just perfect for me. I've got a good grip. I could put it on the top if I was using the Picatinny rail, but I like to keep that there. I suppose I could have gone over, maybe if I wanted to do some strange reach round kind of. No, reach round's a completely different thing. Right, let's move on from here and let's see exactly how this works in the dark. So I thought we'd go through the light levels whilst we're out here, just so that we can really see more of this in the dark, because I know it seems like a strange thing to say, but really the beauty of this really just comes to light in the dark. So the low mode, or at least I suppose the eco mode on this, is 5 lumens. Now, you know, when we were talking about that candela, this is where you see a huge difference with this. So going through the shrubbery here, these plants are about 4 or 5 meters away. even when I look down on the path here, although this is only 5 lumens, it just feels considerably more, because all of those lumens are kind of forced into a more condensed area, and the intensity within that area is so much brighter. So here at 5 lumens it comes in at 100 candela, and you can roughly see about 20 meters ahead of you. Now how we have this, the camera doesn't do a good enough job. The light at the moment, this is probably about 10 meters away. But whilst I've been walking the dogs, whilst I've been out and about, generally all I've used is low, or is the eco mode, which is this one, and the low mode, which is the next bump up. So with a click of the button, this then takes it up to the low mode, which is a really nice 50 lumens. Now, as I mentioned before, because of the way that this really does push that candela, so at 50 lumens the candela goes up to 1000. It just feels more than that, because it's concentrating all of that light onto a point. And hopefully as well you'll be able to see, so this warm spot here, it has a very defined warm spot, and if you can see as I move this out, you can start to see there on the edge to the left, and then if I go this way as well, you can start to see it on the edge to the right. But the beauty is that warm spot that you get in the center. With a click of the button, it then goes up to the medium mode, which is 150 lumens. Now again, you might not be able to see this on here, but there is a gate down at the end of this path in the woods, which I can now just about start to see. It says that it's 109 meters throw that you can get on this. That gate is probably about 60 meters away, and I can just start to see it. Apologies if you can there just see on the right there, you can just see the post. But again, so I'm looking through these trees. These trees here are about 10 meters away. The next trees are about maybe 15. Then the ones that you can start to see in the background, they're probably about 25-30 meters away. But it has a really, really effective hotspot right in the middle that concentrates all of that light into a central point. I'm hoping this really does a good job of just being able to show you just how impressive, especially in the past, I've not really talked about candela and how light is focused with certain flashlights. This is the first one really that's made me think this is something that I really need to talk about. So then another click, we then go up to high. The high mode on this is 600 lumens. Again, you can now start to see that fence or the gate down there even better. These trees again are definitely more lit up. You can now start to see the trees that are past those. In fact, if I move over here, the trees that are just over there in the center, they're now probably about 60, maybe 70 meters away. Actually, probably is more like 60. But again, you get this beautiful view with those, and I can swing this round. There's also a post, so just down the end there is a post that has it says that it's a free path to walk on, that you can now just about start to see. The next bump up after that takes it up to its turbo mode, and the turbo mode is 1700 lumens. Now if I stretch this out, the trees that are back there, it says that the throw on this is up to 357 meters. I could probably imagine that. There's easily trees down there that are 200 meters away that I can definitely see. The post that I mentioned is a hell of a lot easier to be able to see down there. When I circle it round, you can see just how intense the light focuses on that plant, on the plants there. And then now down at the end, if I just move back over, hopefully you should be really easy to be able to see the gate there at the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over to here to have a look at this, the end of this tree. This was felled during the winter. It fell down, and we've used some of this for firewood. So I'm going to go back down. There you can see we're on eco at 5 lumens, low at 50 lumens, medium 150 lumens, high 600, and then turbo, oh, bloody fly just landed on me, bloody horse flies, sorry about that, is 1700 lumens. The other one that's on here with a long press, I'm just going to pop it down to the medium mode, mainly because it's actually starting to get a little bit hot now. The heat on this is actually managed really well. It does a very good job of keeping the heat, but you know, it does get hot. It is 1700 lumens. With a long press, you can then bump that on to onto your strobe mode. Hopefully you'll be able to see that it fluctuates the frequency of the strobe as well. It's actually making all of the flies around here go absolutely crazy. But you can't keep this on for too long. It really does give you a headache after a while. I was going to keep it to the end, but I couldn't. But for 2022, although it's not the end of the year already, I'm totally calling it with this one. As far as my favourite tactical light for the year so far, it's definitely the PD35. It's pocketable, it's not too big, you can still have this in your pocket and not feel as though you're carrying a mag light from the 1980s. It will fit in any bag. You get the sleeve thing, so you can put it on a waist. It's not on your belt. It's not too cumbersome. Again, you don't feel like it's a large torch with you. The different modes that are on there are just perfect. I think, as I mentioned, you know, I generally have been using the eco and the low mode the most because of #physics. I mean, I trained in human biology, but physics and biology aren't too much of a difference, I guess. The candela with this, hopefully you've been able to see, and I hope it does it some justice, but the way that this just perfectly puts that in there. I think what I probably should have done, which I'll think to do next time, especially when I start to think more around these style lights, is to take out another light that is similar, that doesn't have as higher candela values, so that you can really see the difference between the two. But hopefully the in the dark will hopefully sing, and you'll be able to see exactly how this has been. On an extra note, from the tactical airsoft side, I felt like a ninja going through doing airsoft room clearing. When you strap that onto the real steel version, it will feel just as kind of cool, although I guess with the real steel version you don't generally clear rooms because you enjoy it. So I totally appreciate that there is a massive difference between airsoft as a leisurely sport and something else where you may possibly be trying to defend your home or look after your family. But for the amount of light that this may possibly shine into somebody's face, it really does. Your first instinct is to cover your face rather than to do anything else, or probably to hightail it and run. But yes, love this light. Really do recommend this light. This isn't me. I said at the beginning, this isn't me trying to blow smoke up the arse of Fenix. I definitely want to give them a massive shout out. I'm always honoured and certainly humbled when people get in touch and ask if I'd like to test out some products. And this is knowing actually that I've also got a second light that a fellow YouTuber named his light of 2021 last year. But yeah, this is a great light. Thank you again to Fenix. Hopefully, yeah, I'm looking forward to testing out future lights. Yeah, it's been great. Now I will leave all of Fenix's links below so that you can see more from this. I will also leave some of my social media links on there as well so you can follow me. I'm generally on Instagram the most. If at any point you did like this content and you decided to hit that like button and subscribe, I definitely want to take the time at this point to say thank you for doing that. It certainly means a lot. I think I'll close this off and yeah, go and attach this back to my fake pew pew. But for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.